Okay. Okay, great. Okay. So we did our dedication. And so why don't we start and hope that Judy and or Teddy join us, those among our
Oh,
more regulars.
Felice is with
Moshe,
us. Hi, Felice.
Hi.
hey, Felice, how are you? Okay, so
Okay, yourself?
we
Thanks.
have the official four. Okay, besides myself. So we started doing last week the mitzvahs of Bein Odom Lachavero. Those are mitzvahs that, between fellow humans, among fellow humans, as opposed to doing mitzvahs, say, like tefillah, like prayer, uh, which is what do you call it, which is between us and God, so those are sort of, it's the same thing. For example, I think Shabbos is between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God, and so that's a different category of mitzvahs. And one of the things that makes it different is that when you are doing a Bein Adam L'Chavero, what happens is that you have to not only ask for forgiveness from Hashem, but you can't even ask for forgiveness from Hashem or Kadosh Baruch Hu, unless you've already gotten asked for forgiveness and gotten it from the individual who has been wronged. And then you have to ask Hashem for forgiveness. So it's a double avera if you do that. So it's important to learn it and stuff like that. As I say, I'm looking for more material than this because there's things that I can see that they're not covering. Um, so I can see that as I said, there are various other things, and I know there are whole books that are devoted to some of this stuff of watching your language, but I'm trying to find something a bit more compact than an entire book. Okay. Milt, would you like to lead off?
Sure. Telling the truth and lying. Another important mitzvah bein Adam L'Chavera that is often relevant when engaged in business and to daily life is not telling a lie. The Torah warns us to distance ourselves from lies in the following well-known pasuk. That's in Shemot 23:7. Distance yourself from a false matter. Do not bring death on those who are innocent and in the right, for I will not acquit the wrongdoer. Okay, Teddy just joined us, so we're
Hey,
getting
Teddy.
stronger.
We just got started. You didn't miss much.
Does the
Uh,
Isur Derabaita apply across the board, or is it limited to lying in Beit Din, in a court setting? On one hand, the continuation of the pasuk refers to putting someone innocent to death in court, and one would think that perhaps the first part of the pasuk is also referring to situations in a Beit Din. On the other hand, the Gemara in Ketubot indicates that the prohibition applies even outside of Beit Din. The Gemara discusses what guests would say to the bride when dancing in front of her. Masechtas Ketubah 16b. The sages taught, how does one dance before the bride? That is, what does one recite while dancing at her wedding? Bet Shammai says one recites praise of the bride as she is, emphasizing her good qualities. And Beis Hillel says one recites a fair and attractive bride. Beit Shammai said to Beit Hillel, in the case where the bride was lame or blind, does one say with regard to her, a fair and attractive bride? But the Torah states, keep you from a false matter. Beit Hillel said to Beit Shammai, according to your statement, with regard to one who acquired an inferior acquisition from the market, should another praise it and enhance its value in his eyes, or condemn it and diminish its value in his eyes? Question. You must say that he should praise it and enhance its value in his eyes, and refrain from causing him anguish. From here, the sages say a person's disposition should always be empathetic with mankind and treat everyone courteously. In this case, too, once the groom has married his bride, one praises her as being fair and attractive.
You know, part of this is, I think, to me, it just assumes that a that if somebody is handicapped or something like that, that makes them unattractive. And I've known many people who've had disabilities that and that I would find attractive. And but the other thing about it as well is that if you're marrying the woman, chances are that you're going to find her attractive. You're finding her attractive. Otherwise, you wouldn't be marrying her. I would imagine. So. I find that I've always found this particular thing, to be great. And I'll tell you, there are very few women that I've ever encountered that when they're smiling like you do at a wedding, or dancing, that, don't really are not really good looking. Smiling adds a lot, to the way people look. Uh, anyway, let's continue.
The Rabat, that is the
The
Zohar,
Rashbats, the Rashbats.
it's a bats there.
Yeah, Rashbats. I know. I thought you
Yeah.
said Rashbats. Okay, continue.
We don't have I'll go on. Zohar Harakia, comma mitzvot aseh 159:9 proves from this Gemara that there is a general prohibition of lying, as Beit Shammai invoked this prohibition as a reason to not say she is beautiful when she is not. Beit Hillel appeared to respond that perhaps the case is an exception to the rule, but normally they would agree. However, Rabbeinu Yonah, that's the Sharei Tshuva 3:181, follows the context of the pasuk and maintains that although lying is a terrible trait, the Torah violation of lying specifically applies in court. You could move it.
Well, I thought that was um, a, a separate avera. Um, you know, I never thought of it this way. It comes from that pasuk. But in any event,
I have trouble
do it a
with
little bit more.
I
You
have
wanted to say
I
something,
have
Patty?
trouble. Hold on a second, Bert. I have trouble with this. I mean, every person is a creation of God. I mean, how are they defining what beauty is? Beauty is in
Oh,
the
yeah.
eyes. Well,
Oh,
I
the
mean, it's
beholder, right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was saying. You know, uh, you know, I thought that I was saying it clearly enough, but apparently not. That that if you're marrying this person, chances are you find the person attractive. So I mean, to me, attractive in some different ways, and they seem to be implying that that the only thing that definition of uh, of good
Beauty.
looking and stuff beauty is beauty is outwardly beauty. I mean, this person could have tremendous midos, so she could be tremendously learned, she could be brilliant and stuff like that, so she limps a little. I've
what is so what is this about? What is this halacha? We started something new this week
about lying, in other
about
words,
wine. Oh,
lying.
Or about
So the
truth.
point of it is, I think, is that there's a discussion in the Gemara that says, how could you're supposed to say, how beautiful the bride is, and there's a
yeah.
machlokus about that. There's a disputes. One person said, that well, that you describe the person, whatever, she's nice, whatever. But if you say she's nice and she's not, at least physically, then in that case that's a lie. And as I say,
If you
to
don't
me,
believe it, if you don't believe it truly, if you
right,
don't, if you're
I mean,
saying it,
right,
then.
right, and as I say, to me, I mean, to me, it's just always been that way. That I've been familiar with this particular Gemara, and it just strikes me as not being on the mark. As I said, it's you know you're marrying this woman, you at least have to find her somewhat attractive. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be marrying her. But it just seems to be focusing on physical beauty as opposed to internal beauty, which is to me violative of everything in halacha, because inner beauty is much more important than outer beauty.
But it's a it's
So
a it's a chilul Hashem though, because if you're counting beauty just as physical, what is it? Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. I mean,
yeah.
if it's God's creation, then in and of itself, it's beautiful in its own way.
Yep, I agree. As I said, I have always found this particular thing to be a Gemara to be difficult. And what we'll do here is we'll ask Reb Stephen when he comes in March to discuss all the stuff that we need discussing about. I'll ask him about this because this is a Gemara that I've always found troubling. Um,
May I say something, Bert,
of
about?
course, always.
Okay, I'm glad to join you and sorry to come late and I have to leave early too to get my laundry because it wouldn't be right to the other people. Anyway, but my point is concerning our, and that's what I think is the critical difference, saying the Kate Samraka case Kalana V'chasuda is the other people is saying that, not necessarily the Chassan is saying
Oh,
that.
of course, the
So,
husband's not going to say that.
right,
It's not going
so,
to say that.
so,
But
but
again, emphasis on. I'm
it's
sorry,
it's our
Judy.
charge to help the chassan to believe that. So that's why, it's a good white lie if you say so for a good reason.
Okay, let me respectfully disagree because, because to me, physical beauty, is not nearly as important as, as as internal for beauty and
Right.
good mitos and stuff like that, and intelligence, and so you could honestly say, oh, I know she's got a doctorate from Yale, wow, she must be smart, so she's wonderful. She's attractive to him on an intellectual level, or
Mhm.
I know she does lots of tzedakah work, so that would make her having good mitos. And if she has good mitos, you could truly say that she's beautiful because she's beautiful, at least on the inside, which makes her more beautiful on the outside. I mean, that's to me.
Excuse me,
I don't
Bert. Bert, I want to just say something. Why do you have to say anything at all? I mean, it's not mandatory to comment
I
about a
don't know
bride
the
or
answer to
groom.
that. I don't know the answer to that. But we're going to have Rav Stephen explore all of this. I find the whole thing troubling. As I said, you're right. I'm not sure why it is that they have to say anything.
Mhm,
It's I don't understand. Maybe it's part of the mitzvah of the commandment of being Mesameach Chassan V'Kala, is praising
mhm.
the Chassan and the Kala. So maybe it's part of that mitzvah. I'm not sure.
Someone wrote that the Gemara is addressing true human nature, that males focus on the external. I mean, that really is, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I can tell you that there are many men, or at least some men, that will not um, you know, um, that will not go out with girls that they don't think are, quote, beautiful, uh, whatever that means. And, at least physical beauty. So yeah, and I agree. So I agree with whoever, I agree with what Walter said, that this is address, male human nature. Yeah, males can be very, very,
Superficial? Is that the word?
Attractiveness, oriented, as opposed to
Super.
women who are less, more forgiving, I think, in terms of what the guy looks like. The guy looks okay, that's fine, and I don't think women are as fussy about these things. If the guy's nice and everything like that, has a good sense of humor, that's probably mostly what people want. But as I say, I agree that there are men who who focus only on physical beauty. All right, so let's continue. Why don't you read a little bit more,
Right.
Milton?
Right. Rav Yerucham Perlo Fischel similarly writes in his commentary on the mitzvot of Rav Sadia Gaon that the prohibition applies only in court, but he claims that this is the understanding of Beit Hillel as well. Commentary on the Sefer Mitzvot of the Razag, positive mitzvah 22. Nevertheless, it is clear from there, the Gemara in Ketubot, that according to Beit Hillel, the verse, quote, distance yourself from lies, end quote, is only a warning to the Beit Din not to lie in court. The Sefer HaChinuch also seems to take the
That's one
approach,
more, and then we'll pass it on. The Sefer HaChinuch.
right, also seems to take the approach that the prohibition applies in Beit Din, as is evident from his discussion of the prohibition of hearing the plaintiff when the defendant is absent. But he then elaborates on the severity of lying generally. Okay, Sefer HaChinuch.
Do you want somebody else to do this? This is a big one.
Well, we should share it, basically. It's
Okay.
good therapy for everyone.
All right. Teddy, would you like to continue with Sefer HaChinuch?
Okay. Sefer HaChinuch. Let me put my glasses on. Hold on. Sefer HaChinuch Mitzvah 74. They also said that there is also a warning to the litigant for him too not to make his claims to the judge. Someone is making, there's a lot of background. Let's see who's making that noise. It's like a very disturbing noise.
It might be in my next door neighbor's house, so they might be doing some construction, like a hammering.
Well, why don't you just mute yourself then?
Okay.
When you have a question, of course, you're always welcome to unmute.
Okay. Sefer HaChinuch Mitzvah 74. They also said there that it is also a warning to the litigant for him too not to make his claims to the judge when not in front of his adversary, even if the judge wants to hear it. And about this, it is also said, distance yourself from a false matter, and their memory be blessed, also said that this negative commandment includes telling evil speech and accepting it and giving false testimony. Okay, the roof of, you have to move it up. The roof of this commandment is well known. The root of this commandment is well known, as falsehood is abominable and vile in the eyes of all, and there is nothing more disgusting than it. Curses are in the house of its lovers, as God is a truthful God, and everything that is with him is true. And blessing is only found and rests upon those that make themselves similar to him in their deeds, to be truthful like he is truthful, to be merciful like he is merciful, and to be benefactors of kindness like he is of great kindness. But anyone who's
That's one of the things. I don't know if it's a separate mitzvah in itself, but I know that there is a principle. People who want to give it a fancy name have called it imitatio Dei. You're imitating God. And that's, for example, how we know about Bikur Cholim, hearkening back to what we did several years ago. That Bikur Cholim is we do that Hashem visited Avraham after he had been, after he circumcised himself. So if God does it, then certainly we have to do it. We have to imitate God. I'm not sure where the concept of imitatio Dei comes from, but I do know it exists.
Well, it's interesting that this is talking about lying and being truthful, and how they use the example of an ugly bride, quote unquote, as an example to say that you're not supposed to be, even in a situation like that. I mean, it's interesting that they use that as an example.
Yeah, as I say, Teddy, I have extreme difficulty with this. Always have had that, and that I think that we need somebody sensitive like Rough Stephen to try and explain it. My guess would be that he might say something like, "I have no idea why this is the way it is," but he rarely says that. So, but
Yeah.
let's continue.
Okay.
As I
Okay.
say, I am not. I've never been comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with it now. And as I say, I am comfortable with the fact that you're not supposed to lie. But I don't think you're lying when you say about a woman who's getting married that she has beautiful qualities. She's beautiful, because she has, as I said, midos or intellect or whatever, in addition to physical beauty. And as I
And
say,
if,
I agree with you,
and if all
Walter.
the
Just as an
and
aside, Walter, there's a new person here. Why doesn't everyone say hello to Walter? He wants to be quiet for now. We have a new person, Walter. I don't know his last name, and so, but I welcomed him when he first came on. Uh, Walter, one other thing, could you please in the chat put your email address if you would like, because I send material, or questions out to the group. And, if you would like to continue to come to the group, we'd like to have you. So I need to be able to have that from you if you can or want to. I'm not going to be insulted if you don't. In any event, okay, continue, Teddy.
Okay. But anyone whose deeds are the opposite of his good traits, and are masters of falsehood, which is exactly the opposite of his traits, the opposite of his traits will similarly always rest upon them. And the opposite of the trait of blessing that is with him is a curse. And the opposite of joy and peace and enjoyment that are with him is worry, strife, and pain. All of these
Him
are
being a capital, him being a Kadosh Baruch Hu.
yeah, all of these are the evildoers' portion from God. And therefore, the Torah warned us to distance ourselves much from falsehood, as it is written, from a false matter, distance yourself.
It says in the Chumash, Midvar Sheker Tirchak. You should distance yourself from lying. Why don't you continue, please, a little bit more?
Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, Ramchal, in his classic work, Mesilat Yesharim, states that there are 3 levels regarding lying. Mesilat Yesharim, chapter 11. Lying is also an evil disease that has spread widely among people, but there are various levels therein. There are some people whose profession is lying. I'm sorry. They go
I
around.
wonder I wonder what profession they're thinking about.
Okay.
I mean, to me, wow, that's an interesting thing. You think
Yeah.
about an entire profession as being oh, all the people who are whatever, are lawyers. That's just, I'd like to have an example.
Politicians, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Yep.
They go
they go,
around, they go around and fabricate complete lies in order to increase conversation among people, or to be considered among the intelligent and knowledgeable, or to get a vote. About this type, it is written, lying lips are an abomination to God. And it states, your lips speak lies, your tongue mutters perversiveness, perverseness. On our sages of blessed memory have already pronounced their judgment, Four classes of people do not receive the divine presence. One of these is the class of liars. There are other liars close to the first group in level of lying, but not exactly like them, namely those who lie in their reports and statements. When they come to relate something true, they mix in whatever lies they happen to think of. They habituate in this until it becomes part of their nature. These are the lawyers whose word is impossible to believe. This is, as our sages said, it is the penalty of a liar that even when he tells the truth, he's not listened to.
Yeah,
So,
so for example, I don't know for sure, if this would be included, but it seems to me if you claim a tax exemption, a tax deduction, and you're not, and that you're not entitled to, that would be a form of lying to me. Again, as I say, I'm not sure it would be to them. Continue, Teddy.
saying that has to do with reporting. That
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
you're not
reporting, but if you report a law, something which is not true, then it's a lie. Uh, you know, to me, again, this is, and it's also, to some extent, it's a chilul Hashem because it's a chilul Hashem because if and particularly if the people that from the IRS find you and you're getting audited, and you have a religious person, they're going to say, "Oh, this religious person is not so religious. He's lying on his taxes." So you got to be careful about these things, particularly when it may be seen um, by people who are that people who are not Jewish. They oh, Jews cheat on their taxes. Continue, Teddy. Did you want
okay.
to say something, Judy?
Yes, I wanted to say, can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I wanted to say, did anybody see the movie Liar, Liar? It was a comedy. I forgot the name of the actor, but it was like a play on the word lawyer. So when they talk
Oh,
profession, excuse me, Teddy, and anybody else who has relatives who are accomplished lawyers, but part of the way that lawyers convince other people is by molding, if you will, the truth, not a complete lie necessarily, but intentionally, like framing, making a different picture so that everybody sees it in a different way.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
he interprets the law to to
Abs-
support his client.
Right,
right.
right, right.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure whether lawyers, you know, intentionally say, "Gee, I'm lying to get my guy off." I don't think.
They're not supposed to do that
yes,
No,
yeah,
professionally.
I don't think they're right. I don't think they're supposed to do that. On the other
no,
hand, they're supposed to be, because of the system, they're supposed to be advocates on behalf of their clients, and and therefore they may to some extent go over the line on these things. It's just as a point of reference, that as well. This is not true in Jewish courts. When they had Besdin, when they had these things, there is no prosecution and there is no defense. It's all done by the judges, by the members of Besdin. Um, you can, or the individuals. If it's a civil case or even a criminal case, the individuals involved, then you're not represented by counsel. Um, and stuff like that. And actually, there's some people who question whether or not it's entirely possible to be that type of lawyer. But in any event, as I said, it's part of the system is different. As I say, when for example, you don't have lawyers cross-examining, people who give testimony. It's the judges. It's who do this in the Jewish the Jewish sphere. Okay, continue, Teddy.
Okay. There are others still whose illness is milder than that of the first two, namely those who are not so entrenched in falsehood, but do not try to distance themselves from it. They will lie when the opportunity presents itself, often in a joking manner or the like without evil intent. But the wisest of men,
Shlomo.
hold on, I'm trying, the chat is in my way, hold on.
Okay.
Okay. They will lie when the opportunity presents itself, often in a joking manner or the like without evil intent. But the wisest of men, Shlomo, has taught us that all of this is contrary to the will of the Creator, blessed be He, and the attributes of His pious ones. This is what is written: the righteous man hates a false word. This is also what the Torah commands us: distance yourself from a false manner. The Holy One, blessed be he exhorted us greatly about speaking the truth, such as, let each man speak the truth to his neighbor. Ve'amar ve'huchein b'chesed kisei v'yeshev alecha be'emet. Ve'amar ach ami hema banim lo yishakru. And in mercy the throne shall be established, and he shall sit upon it in truth. And it states, for he said, surely they are my people, sons that will not lie. You have to go down, which, you have to go down. Which teaches you that one depends on the other. And Jerusalem shall be called the city of truth, Zechariah 8:3, to magnify its importance. And our sages of blessed memory said, who speaks truth in his heart? Like Rav Safra, this teaches you just how far-reaching the obligation of truth extends. Truth
Right.
is
There's an entirely separate, as far as I can remember, uh, set of mitzvos, that involved with that. It says lo sisna es achicha b'levavecha. We may have learned this last week, studied this last week. You're not supposed to, dislike a person or hate a person in your heart. You're supposed to tell them, listen, you've upset me because of so and so. You've harmed me because of so and so. Don't do it again. And so I do know that that exists, and it takes sometimes it takes real. Um, I don't know what the right word is, but a really sensitive individual who will, say, I understand you wronged me, and if you ask for forgiveness, I'll forgive you, and so you have that. But as I say, I do know that there is that concept, that in other words, you can't, if what you're saying is different from what you are feeling, then in that case, that's considered a lie.
truth is one of the pillars on which the world stands. I vote. Therefore, one who speaks falsehood is as if he removes the foundation of the world, and conversely, one who is scrupulous about truth, it is as if he upholds the foundation of the world. Our sages of blessed memory related Sanhedrin 97a about a certain town whose inhabitants were so heedful of truth that the angel of death had no dominion over them. But because the wife of a certain rabbi changed her word, even though her intention was good, the angel of death began to prevail over them. They expelled her from there due to this, and their former tranquility was restored. There is no need to elaborate further on this topic, which reason dictates and knowledge requires it to be observed.
Okay.
You want me to just finish?
Moshe,
Go ahead.
yeah, okay. Moshe Resnick, would you like to start? It's a new thingy. You got to unmute if you're there.
I just did, yes. Changing the truth for the sake of peace. Although, as we have seen, lying is considered a very serious transgression, there are still certain instances where it is permitted to deviate from the truth, such as for the sake of peace. This is derived by the Gemara in Yavamet from the brothers of Yosef who lied because they were afraid that after Yaakov died, Yosef would attempt to punish them for their selling him to Egypt. The Gemara then offers two more examples of cases where the truth was altered for the sake of peace. Rashi explains the background content of these cases.
Let me just see if let's just see if okay, fine. It explains that. I was going to say, I was going to explain what it says in the Chumash. Continue. Masechtas Yeruvamot.
As Rabbi further says in the
Elahei.
name of Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, it is permitted for a person to depart from the truth in a matter that will bring peace, as it is stated. They commanded messengers to go, Yosef saying, your father commanded before he died, saying, so you shall say to Yosef, please pardon your brothers, crime, etc. Bereshit 50, 16, 17. Yaakov never issued this command, but his sons falsely attributed this statement to him in order to preserve peace between them and Yosef.
Or, to make sure that that Yosef doesn't, because he's so powerful now, doesn't do anything to harm them. So anyway, continue.
Rabbi Natan says it is a mitzvah to depart from the truth in order to preserve peace, as it is stated, and Shmuel said, how can I go, and Shaul will hear and kill me? Shmuel I 16:2. God responded in the next verse that Shmuel should say he went to sacrifice an offering, indicating that God commands one to lie in order to preserve peace.
Okay. I just as an aside here, I'm not, just personally, I am not, as conversant in Nevi'im and Kesuvim, you know, uh, you know, as I am with the Chumash, unfortunately. So I can't tell you. I have nothing to say about anything that pertains to, to stuff that's not directly in the Chumash. Continue.
It was taught in the school of Rabbi Yishmael, great is peace, as even the Holy One, blessed be He, departed from the truth for it, as initially it is written that Sarah said of Abraham, and my Lord is old, Bereshit 18:12, and in the end it is written that God told Abraham that Sarah said, and I am old, Bereshit 18:13. God adjusted Sarah's words in order to spare Abraham hurt feelings that might lead Abraham and Sarah to quarrel. Rashi Yevamat 65b. Your father commanded, Yaakov did not command this, rather they deviated from the truth for the sake of peace. How shall I go? And it is written, God said to him, take a calf in your hands and say you are going to bring a sacrifice, when in reality he was not. And my Lord is old. Sarah said this in a denigrating manner. And when God revealed to this Abraham, it is written, why did Sarah laugh and say, for I am old? And he changed the wording for the sake of peace.
Right. In other words, she said originally that I don't, that my husband is old,
It's all.
and that that was originally, what it was, and it was changed because they didn't want to create bad blood between Abraham and Sarah.
What was
The
it
other
changed? Bert, what was
Yeah,
the original one?
the original one was that she gets there's a revelation that she's going to have a son.
Yeah,
Okay. And 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 she sort of snickered, you know, I'm gonna have he says, how can I have a kid, when my husband is so old, you
yeah.
know. And but so what happened is, in the telling of it by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what he said is, he sort of lied, and misrepresented it by saying that Sarah said about herself that she's old, not that
Uh,
her husband is old. So
yeah,
for the sake of peace, Hashem lied.
yeah,
Okay, am I clear about that? Did I
Yes.
clear that up, Teddy? Okay,
yeah.
great. Continue, please.
Uh,
Moshe.
okay, Rockland Yevamot 65b. This is somewhat difficult to understand. Indeed, how is it permitted to lie? It is not written. Distance yourself from falsehood. Furthermore, what is the meaning of the language to depart from the truth? It should have said that it is permitted to lie for the sake of peace. One can answer that the words, so shall you say, are extra, since it already is written saying, therefore, one can answer that they used the phrase in a manner that could interpret it in two ways. For in truth, they only stated that your father commanded before his death, saying, and the intention was that he commanded whatever he commanded. As it is stated, and Yaakov finished commanding his sons, Bereshit 49:33. Furthermore, they added to the messengers, so shall you say to Yosef, meaning that they should say this on their own. And as for this, they did not say explicitly that their father had commanded it. But Yosef would think that the statement, your father commanded, relates to that as well. This is why they sent messengers and did not go themselves. However, since it is prohibited to deceive people, and they said this in a misleading manner, from here he proves that it is permitted to alter the truth for the sake of peace.
One of the things I've always had trouble with, um, and I've had some lengthy discussions with Gloria about this, is that our rabbis tended to want to portray in the best light, our forefathers, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and the Shvatim, and all 12 of them, because it just seems to me that that it is pretty clear to me that they were lying, and when they said this, and they're trying to excuse it by saying something like, well, they weren't saying this, that they didn't lie. They were fine tuning what they said. It was it was a very interesting parsing of the things. It's sort of like, remember when Bill Clinton, said it depends upon how you define sex, and it's the same thing. Well, please, that's you know what that means. So that's sort of my. I think that clearly this is an instance in which Azal, decided that they wanted to try and make. Instead of saying that the Shvatim were a bunch of liars, they said that they said that they said that let me hold on a second. Uh, yeah, okay. Anyway, all right. So hold on a second. So anyway, yeah, I think that I think as Walter said in his, he was leaving as he wrote this in the chat thing. He said, that this is all discussing things of human nature. Human nature is that we don't necessarily tell the truth, uh, and I don't know. What do you all think? Do you think that this, that there's, some, that people just simply don't like to tell the truth because it's part of human nature, or don't tell the truth because it's part of human nature?
It depends upon the context. It depends upon the context.
Yeah. Well, as I say here, I think in this particular instance, all right. So what would you say, Teddy, that this is justified in the case of the Shvatim to say that, to say what they said?
In other words, what did they say?
They
Elaborate.
they lied about what their father said, or at least weren't entirely truthful. They said that their father said, forgive them, forgive your brothers or whatever, but he never said that. So and they said that he had said it in order to make sure that Yosef doesn't harm them or whatever,
Um,
but so this is that, darke shalom. Okay, these are
yeah.
the ways of peace. So
So I think, again, I think it depends upon the context. of a
Right. So how
situation.
about that? So take that as an example. Do you think that was a valid, something that was a good lie as opposed to a bad lie?
Well, someone said
That's
they're trying to protect themselves.
Right. Yeah, I
So
understand that.
it's not only shalom bias, but sometimes you lie because you're in danger. And so you
Uh,
twist the truth a little bit. I think that's what Luke
Uh-huh.
was saying.
Yeah, no, I think I think that's correct. And but on the other hand, I think that they could have um that the better way for them to have handled this, it seems to me, would be to say to Yosef, you know, we really did something that was truly wrong. Please forgive us. Because he's already said at that point, or maybe he hasn't, I don't remember the sequence, is that, oh, yeah, I think that he said that after they lied about it, he said to him, guys, don't worry about it, about, my taking revenge or something, because it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it was God that sent, that sent you here and, with all of this so as to, that I could save all of my brothers and my father and the Jewish nation. So, I think that if in fact he had done that, if the Shvatim had said, forgive us, we did something truly wrong, I think that, that Yosef would have, responded favorably to that.
Yeah,
Um,
they didn't own up to it for themselves. They said, I didn't realize that they said that yeah, our father told
told
you
us, but they
to
lied
forgive
about
us.
that.
Yeah,
Told
yeah, to tell
us.
us.
No, didn't
Yeah,
tell him because Yosef would know. He says, our father told us to tell you,
yes,
that, that he asked
to forgive
to
us. Yeah,
forgive us, when in fact, he hadn't said that. And the best way of doing this, seems to me to be to have confessed, again, so to some extent, it goes back to what we said previously. It says, Lo sisna esochicha bilvavecha. Do not hate your person, your friend
in your heart.
in your heart. You have to explain to them, what the difficulty is that you're having. And, here, they could have said, thrown themselves at the mercy of Yosef. He said, well, we did something terrible, please don't hurt us, or whatever. We know you're the supreme ruler of, second in command to Paro in Egypt. Um, all
but
right, let's
it's a shame. I didn't realize that they really didn't. All in the end, they didn't take accountability then for what they did.
No,
It-
I don't think that they ever did. I think that Yosef sort of intuited that that was the case, but I don't think that they ever. I'll have to look at this after we're finished here. I'll take a look and see what it says in the
because
Chumash,
yeah,
and I'll report back to everybody. But I don't think that they ever confessed as to what the truly was the case. So let's hold on a second. Let's see what's going on here.
yeah, we only have 5 minutes left.
All right, so let's not start this big thing here. Okay, Milk, you're good about these things as opposed to me. Let's say we're on page 38. At the top of the page, according to the Aruch Linear. Okay,
Right.
everybody have a good week. Okay,
Okay.
You too.
you
Thank
take
you.
care,
Thought
and
so.
we should hear only good news from Israel.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
Take care.
Yes. Bye.
Yeah. Thea, you still there? All right, I think Thea is going to. All right.